Hey there, I'm Jonny May from Piano with Jonny, and today I want to show you how I created my arrangement of Uptown Funk. Now this is a really popular Bruno Mars tune, and I arranged it in a funk, boogie, and ragtime style. So three really fun styles, and basically I want to show you my arranging process, basically where I started when I first heard the song, and then basically all of the steps that I took in order to create this particular arrangement. So this is kind of a broad overview of my arranging process, but I also want to show you some of the general techniques that I use so that you can hopefully use these techniques when you create arrangements. So as you can see, we have the sheet music here, and this is a lead sheet, meaning it's basically just the melody and the chords. And this is something I really encourage you to do, is when you first want to start arranging the song, is listen to the song and basically write down your melody and your chords. And I use a program called Sibelius to do this, but you could also do this by hand. And this is literally just listening and writing down quarter notes, half notes, whole notes, whatever the melody is. So as you can see here, we have different sections. So we have an introduction, and this is your basic melody here. 2, 3. It's kind of a bass line that's really popular in the beginning. And then we get into the verse. This is where Bruno Mars starts singing. This is that ice cold, we shall fight for that white gold, right? And then we get into verse part 2. This kind of has a different feel to it. You could call this maybe a pre-chorus, but I think of it as part 2 of the verse. This is where he goes, too hot, hot damn, right? Too hot, hot damn, okay? And we go down to the pre-chorus. Girls hit you hallelujah. Right? So just a straight melody, nothing fancy yet. We're just getting the melody down. Okay? And then we get into this really fun chorus, I guess how I wrote it here. And this is kind of an instrumental, right? In this portion, he says, don't believe me, just watch, come on, and then the horns go. Right? And so I charted that as well. Okay, so that's kind of the first step, and then you're going to notice here it's all white space, and the reason there's white space is because in pop music, the sections usually repeat themselves. So obviously there's going to be another verse, there's going to be another pre-chorus, there's another chorus. There's all of this additional stuff in the song, but as an arranger, you can really make your job a lot easier if you only notate each section once, because those sections usually repeat themselves. Now in popular music, a lot of times the writer will change the melody a little bit on each of the sections, and as an arranger, I don't play the melody exactly for each section, simply because it's a lot more tedious, and I do hear other pianists who do notate the melody exactly, but for me as an arranger, I take a different approach. I like to simplify it as much as possible. So again, I only notate each section one time, right? And then when the verse repeats, you basically use the same melody that you notated. Again, this is just my style of arranging. Not everyone does it this way, but I think it makes arranging a lot easier. Okay, so once you have the song notated in a lead sheet style, you have your melody and your chords, great. This is the basic material that you need to arrange. So what do you do next, right? How do you create the arrangement? So this is I would say the hard part, but also the most exciting part, because this is where you get to be very creative as an arranger. And the first question that you should be asking is, what style do I want to arrange it in? Like let's say you wanted to arrange this in a ragtime style. There's a certain sound to ragtime which has a jumpy sort of left hand, and the right hand's playing rag rolls. If you wanted to do it, kind of in a swing style, that's kind of the swing sound. So I thought, well, I'd really like to do this in a funk style, right? Because it's called Uptown Funk. Why not start it in a funk style? But I also was thinking, it'd be really cool if we could do it some other styles. So we'll get to that later. But the funk sound really comes in here for part 1. And basically on the intro, I just said, well, I'll just play the melody as is. I'll double it up. Kind of an octave down here. I'll slide that melody up, kind of add some fun stuff to it, but nothing too magical happening yet. We got our snaps in there. Okay, and then what I did was I introduced this sound. So my left hand's still playing that little bass line, but now my right hand is adding a chordal element. And I also reharmonized this melody a little bit because it's a very, that chord is actually like a D minor chord practically the whole time on that introduction. You do have some G7s here. So what I did was I thought, well, goodness gracious, we're sitting on a D minor for a long time. Why don't we do like a D minor 7, kind of like, that's like a G7. We've got basically the 3rd and 7th, and then we'll do like a B flat and F, basically walking down to our A and F. So this is a little technique you guys can use. If you're sitting on a chord for a long time, in this case a D minor, you can basically start on a note like this and sort of walk down into the A. It's kind of like a James Bond sound, Has a cool sound to it, okay? So I thought, hey, that kind of works on this melody. I'll go ahead and use that technique, okay? So that's what I do here. Okay, and I kind of came up with that right hand line. It is loosely based on what the guitar is doing in the original song, but that's kind of the general idea there. Okay, now we get into verse part 1. This is that ice cold. How does Bruno Mars sing that high? It's crazy. His range is like way higher than like most guys. I can't sing that high. But anyway, that's where he starts singing. Okay, and so what I wanted to do here is I wanted to sort of introduce a new bass line. And so I basically came up with very simple bass line. Bum, 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 bum. And this is kind of a groove that will drive the whole section. And this is what I encourage you to do as an arranger, is be creative and try to think of, hey, what would be a cool bass line that would work over this particular melody? And you kind of jam on the melody. That's my melody on a D minor. Well, it kind of drives, it works. You could do all kinds of different left hand patterns here, but that's the one that I really liked. I could have gone, that would be a different sort of rhythm. There's no right or wrong rhythm. You just have to pick one that you like. And I like this one. It's kind of simple, okay? Now, for this little thing here, I wanted to embellish the melody a little bit. So I'm basically on a D minor 7. Kind of going back to the same thing I did earlier. Remember I did this? Kind of walking down. I'm doing the same thing here. Just playing bigger chords. So there's my G minor or G major chord over D. Then this is that B flat sort of chord. We played that earlier up here. And I'm just kind of breaking up the chord, right? It's our, D minor 7. This is a G over D. Nice, kind of nice way of harmonizing the D. And then we have a B flat over D, finally to our D minor, okay? So once again, kind of think when you're playing a tune like this, look, you're sitting on a D minor chord for a long time. How can I add new harmonies to it? And again, this is a great technique you can use, is basically going D, right, to G, to B flat, and then to D, okay? Or 1, 2, 4, and then to the flat 6, and then back to the 1, okay? Lots of ways of harmonizing. Again, there's no right or wrong. This is just a technique that I like to use and that you can use. So I break up the chord, also sliding some notes. And I'm doing the same thing here. He sings, da-dum, da-dum. Living it up in the city, right? So I'm just harmonizing that, sliding some notes, going back to our G major chord with the C in the melody. I like this sound. It's a crunchy sound, but I think it sounds really cool. So I was like, hey, that sounds awesome. Here's our B major chord. We still got the C in the right hand. And you're going to notice something else. I haven't mentioned this yet, but I'm simplifying the melody. I do this in all of my arrangements. If you notice, this melody is very busy, right? So for example, here, right? Bum bum, right? Bum bum, bum bum, living it up in the city. Well, I simplify that. I go. So I'm not getting all the notes in there, but I'm still sort of outlining the melody. And this is a huge component of the way I arrange is anytime the melody is very busy, which is very common in pop music, I will simplify the melody so that I can then take that more simple melody and I can do something interesting with it. It's very hard as an arranger to take a very busy melody and do something interesting with it. So you're going to notice actually in all of these little arrangement lessons, I do simplify the melody, and that's perfectly fine to do because the audience, when they're hearing, like for example what I just played, they're still hearing Bruno Mars sing all the notes, but you're not playing all the notes, if that makes sense. Okay? So we continue along here. Now, here's where we get to verse part 2. Here's where he does the hot damn, right? I'm too hot, hot damn. Okay? And I wanted to change the left hand. Check out the new left hand. So, as an arranger, you're always trying to build sections, so I just came up with and all I'm doing is going bum, 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 like we did earlier, but now I'm doing this walk up. And that's a really important fingering there. And then we got to jump down to the D again. And again, this is just a bass line I like. You could create any bass line you want, but I think the most important point that I'm trying to make to you is to change it up. We're in a new section, verse part 2, so create a new bass line, right? You want to give the listener something new to hear, otherwise it'll become mundane, right? And so you always want to kind of be thinking, okay, what's a new sound I can introduce, okay? Now on the right hand, so that left hand pretty much stays the same, right? Too hot, hot damn, right? Left hand sitting there, the right hand, too hot, hot damn, okay? Those are my chords there. And really what I'm doing here is when he sings hot damn, right, it's just kind of a rhythm, right? The notes to me don't matter that much so much as that hot damn rhythm. So what I did is I punched these high chords. This big D minor 7 here, you can use this chord when you're arranging, but it's kind of a spread out D minor 7, and then I really spread out here for the G9 chord here. Right, that's the chord there, okay? But you could also simplify it, you could do that, you know, if you can't reach that, okay? So that's what I'm doing, popping those chords, too hot, hot damn. Got fourths on the bottom. Basically going back to my original reharmonization, which is the B flat. And those are just fourths. Girls get you hallelujah. Now we're in the pre-chorus. And again, I'm using the same chords, so I'm going kind of back and forth between D and G. See that? Keeping the left hand the same. Got the G major chord in the right hand. Again, you're always looking for ways to reharmonize. If you listen to the original song, he's sitting on a D minor chord like this whole time. So again, look for areas where you can throw in new chords. In this case, I thought, hey man, a G sounds pretty cool. G sounds pretty cool, right? Girls get you hallelujah. Girls get you hallelujah. Kind of going to that G major. It's kind of a gospel progression, D minor to G major. Okay, so. And I'm breaking up the chord. You want to look for these patterns when you're arranging, right? If you can find one pattern that works over the first several chords, then it's very likely that that pattern will work on the other chords. And I like that little reharmonization to a D major there. Kind of happy, kind of lifts the sound there. And then we're into this little build here. Again, we're just reharmonizing the chords here. I put a D minor over A, and then I did our little James Bond theme here. B flat over A, B diminished over A. You see what we're doing here? So again, this goes back to the beginning of the song when we did. It's the same technique, right? Let's see, where are we? All right, so we're just playing that melody. Uptown Funk won't give it to you, right? Uptown Funk won't give it to you. Uptown Funk won't give it to you, right? Bum, 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 bum. Basically playing the melody using these bigger chords, and then we have don't believe me, just watch, right? Don't believe me, just watch. That's just a G over an A, right? Just kind of prolonging our A7. That's really the chord that we're ultimately building here to. Big A7, and then for the chorus, this is an instrumental, so horns. And basically here I said, okay, I really want to go big, and the big sound in the left hand is root to chord. Okay, so a root chord generally has a big sound when you're arranging. So if you really want to build into a big chorus, usually I save that sound for the chorus. Okay. Now in terms of a left hand, what's a rhythm that works? I mean, I could do something like. I could just go root chord, and that would work, but I wanted something a little more groovy. So I thought, well, we kind of have this da ga da ga da ga da ga da ga da subdivision. So what if I went like basically I'm going root to chord, and I'm sort of accenting the bottom of the chord. Ka-chung, 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 ka-chung. Going 5 to 1 to the roots. Ka-chung, 5 1 to G. Ka-chung, using a G major. 5 1 to the chord. Okay, and that's the basic left-hand technique there, and that seemed to work really well. And then the right hand, I just do the melody in octaves, and I actually kind of changed it a little bit. And I do a little fill there. It's basically, a G to like a G diminished. Kind of a fun way of it's just like a filler line, okay? Just, I think the most important, valuable thing I could convey to you is to just be creative when you're coming up with arrangements, right? You got these gaps in here, right? See this gap here, this gap here. These are golden as an arranger. I love these gaps because this is where you can throw in little fills, you can throw in little ornaments, ornamentation. And so that's what I'm doing here. I'm playing the melody. Okay, again, no right or wrong answer. The wrong thing to do is to not be creative. So you want to look for little things that you can add. Okay, and we just continue playing this. I think I do a little run here. Let's see. Again, I'm just filling here with a blues scale. This is a D minor blues scale. I'm just rolling down the D minor 7. And that's just our D minor blues scale, straight blues scale. And I anticipate the G chord, nice little landing point. Don't believe me, just watch, right? I do a glissando, that's always fun to do, and then I take it up the octave. Again, you want to give the listener something new. We're going to pull it up the octave. It makes it sound more interesting. Same thing we did earlier. We did the blues scale. I'm going to gliss down and gliss up. Make sure you gliss with your thumb going down. Use the nail. Don't use your skin. I see a lot of people do that. Bad technique. Use your thumb and then come up with your middle fingernail. Okay, we're going to do it up the octave. Same left hand. And now what I'm doing here is I'm just jamming on the D minor. Using kind of the similar technique we did earlier. Remember this? We're doing it now on the D minor. Very similar rhythm as well, okay? So A flat to A. And that's basically going back to our bass line. Except we're actually bringing it in now with some rolls in it, okay? So we have, I'm just rolling that G, you see that? Okay, again, just adding some fun little stuff to make the melody interesting. We take it up the octave. right? Actually, we already played that, so and this is where we get into the boogie section, okay? So for the boogie section, you know, there's lots of different boogie bass lines, but one of the ones I really like, just seems to work across the board, is basically starting on the root and then going down to the 6th, 7th, raised 7th, up to the root. And I played that with this melody and I was like, gosh, this works really well, right? It just works. It works really well. And you want to experiment with different left-hand boogie patterns that work with various parts of the melody. And again, this boogie left hand really worked with all of the sections of the melody. So I introduced this cool boogie line. I punch the right hand. And I take it way down. And now I'm bringing back that bass line, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. But I'm doing it in a more interesting way. I'm just rolling the chord. Okay, again, I'm just outlining that melody. Bum, 2, 4, bum, 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 bum. But I'm sort of breaking it up. So kind of come up with some interesting ways to arpeggiate the chord, but you're still outlining the melody. And then of course my left hand is doing the same pattern that we did up here, just now it's really low. So I wanted that really low, like I wanted that sort of like raw, just a really beefy bass section of the song. I think that worked pretty well. And then what I did is I said, okay, I want to do the whole song in boogie. So how can I do it in boogie? So that's one technique you can use, is the octave technique, right? There's another boogie technique which goes like this. Right? I'm just playing a boogie here. But I thought, well, that could work with the melody. Let's try it, right? This is that ice cold Michelle for that white gold. That works awesome. That sounds amazing. So we went ahead and arranged it in that sound, all right? So we're back here, verse part 1, and see what I said earlier? You only have to notate the verse once, and now we're just going to go back and reuse the material, okay? So here we go. Left hand here, 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, okay? If you want to learn more about these techniques, go to pianowithjonny.com. I actually show you a lot of these boogie bass lines. We have a boogie-woogie course, rock and blues bass line course, where I teach you a bunch of these left-hand patterns. Also, we have funk courses as well at pianowithjonny.com, where you can learn more of the funk technique. So I'm not going to go too much into detail here, but if you want more details about like how to invent these sort of bass lines, I show you a bunch that you can use in those courses. Okay, so we continue along. We're sliding the 5th, rolling the chord. That works really well. Now we're here, as you can see in the melody, we're sort of simplifying the melody. There's our hot damn, right? Just hitting a big D minor chord, and then we're rolling that thing down, actually glissandoing that chord down, just to make it really exciting, right? You know, I'm just basically playing the melody here, using octaves for a really big sound, hot, or dun dun, whatever it is, hot damn. Okay, and then after this, you know, again, boogie bass line, right hand playing octaves, we get to the pre-chorus. Girls hit your hallelujah, right? Okay, and what I wanted to do here, I wanted to bring back in our octave thing, but I wanted to do like a something that was sort of building it up here. Okay, so again, octave. I'm just going up to the 4 chord. You see how that works? It's a very gospel technique here, okay? But it's really fun, okay? Girls hit your hallelujah. Girls hit your hallelujah. That's just our G over A. We played this chord earlier, okay? And we do the same thing. Girls hit ya, hallelujah. This is just a D7 over F sharp. It says G flat, same note. It's a D7 over F sharp. Girls hit ya, hallelujah. This is diminished, okay? Because we're going to be setting up that, because Uptown, right? Setting up this James Bond theme that we introduced earlier, right? So girls hit ya, hallelujah. Girls hit ya, hallelujah. And this is the same thing as earlier. You know, D minor over A. These are B flat over A, B diminished over A. Same deal. And we're just having fun with it, you know. Is that what it is? Let's see. Yeah, there it is. And that's just a cool pattern I really like. And I'm just kind of rolling the chord. That's it. That's the technique, and you do it to all the chords. Okay. Left hand, I'm just sort of outlining the chord, right? Picking chord degrees, picking different notes from the right hand. And just coming up with this kind of cool little pattern here. Again, be creative. You cannot be too creative when it comes to arranging. Don't believe me, just watch. There's our A7 chord. Don't believe me, just watch. That's an A7. Okay, and we're going to punch it, and then we're going to go to the boogie bass line with the instrumental chorus. So now we're down here, and we're rocking out. Okay, so we're going to go back to that. But now we're going to be moving between these two chords, D minor 7 and G7. So check it out. Up. Okay, just playing the melody in the right hand. Left hand, we're going to come down into the G. Okay, nice way to walk down into G. Okay, we do some filler lines. That's just a G7, sliding the D. Again, we're filling. We got all these gaps, guys. Look at these gaps. I love the gaps because we can do fun stuff, okay? So we're just rolling down kind of almost like a D minor 7, but we're going to the 4 or the 11. And we're coming up with the D minor blues scale. Remember, we used the D minor blues scale earlier on, okay? So I like to recycle themes. I like to recycle harmonic ideas, and that's kind of what we're doing here, okay? And then we're back to the melody. Don't believe me, just watch, right? Don't believe me, just watch. I hit a G7, glissando up the keyboard. That's a lot of fun. Then we do the same thing up the octave, right? This is something I want to encourage you when you're arranging. If you come up with an idea that works in the lower octave, and let's say that theme repeats itself, just put it up the octave. You don't have to like do something entirely different. Just change the octave, and the listener, they'll really enjoy it because they get to hear that octave change, okay? So one more time. And this is all the same, right? Playing the same stuff. And now we're in the key of E flat. I wanted to do a key change here because we've been in D minor the whole song, right? And you don't have to change keys in a song, but sometimes it's nice for the listener because it sort of lifts the song. And we've been in D minor a long time. So this was just a decision I made, and I thought, let's change the key. I think it'll just lift the song a little bit. I could have stayed in D minor, but I just thought that was a cool moment to lift, okay? So we have, let's see. And now here I wanted to go to E, so check it out. So I go, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Now I'm in the E flat. You see that? So I kind of walk up into the E flat, okay? And now we're in a new key. And then we do the same bass line, right? Except we're in the key of E flat, so we're going 1, 6, flat 7, 7. Right hand, I'm using a big fat E flat minor 7. I put the 7 on the bottom. You might recall earlier we did this on the D minor. We went 2 hot, hot damn, right? Hot damn. Look at that chord there, D minor 7 with the 7 on the bottom. Doing the same thing now on E flat, okay? So again, Simplify the melody. When you come up with an idea, you can recycle that idea. You can reuse it. I'm reusing a lot of the chords that I used earlier, but I'm using them in a different context, okay? So we're in E flat major, or E flat minor. Okay, now the last section of this song is Ragtime. And again, we're going to play the whole song again, starting from the verse, right? But in a ragtime style. So one of the decisions that I had to make, well, I know ragtime has the jump in it, right? Like basic ragtime would be, you know, something like this, right? Yeah, I don't know, right? But it's jumping left hand, rag rolls in the right hand. And, but, you know, I was thinking, gosh, how could I reharmonize this melody in a more interesting way? And, you know, so we're looking at the song in D minor right now, but just keep in mind everything is up a half step. We're in the key of E flat minor. And so my first progression, I thought, well, gosh, we're sitting on an E flat minor a long time. So it'd be like, you know, this is that ice cold Michelle Pfeiffer, that white gold, bum, bum. That sounds okay, right? Nothing too special about it. It's kind of novel, but what if I could reharmonize that melody? Check it out. Up. Whoa, what am I doing here? Okay, so I noticed something. There's a very common progression in like stride, sort of ragtime music, where you go up to the flat third, treat it as a dominant 7, so G flat 7, 2, dominant 7, 5, dominant 7, okay? If you break it down real simple, it's like something like that, okay? And you can change your inversions, right? But that's a very common progression in sort of stride piano playing, and I thought, I wonder if that'll work with a melody. And check it out. This is that, ooh, ice cold, and then Michelle. That's a B flat 7 with a sharp 9. That's your sharp 9 there. That sounds kind of cool. Sounds awesome, I think. This is that ice gold Michelle Pfeiffer, that white gold. Okay, and so this is something I encourage you to do. Is, you know, if you pick a style like ragtime, don't just play the chord as written. Actually, try to come up with a reharmonization of the chord. In this case, I had one chord to work with. Originally D minor. Now it's E flat minor. How can I add some more chords to it? This progression worked very well. Once you pick your progression, it's very likely that you can repeat that progression. So it's not like you have to keep reinventing, you know, or reharmonizing it. Pick a progression that works and then continue to use it. And that's pretty much what I do this entire section all the way up to the pre-chorus, okay? So here we go. So this is that ice cold, again, E flat minor, G flat 7, F 7, B flat 7, right hand. This is that ice cold Michelle Pfeiffer. We're using an E flat 6, very common in stride music, okay? Just kind of has an old-fashioned sound to it, like a 1920s sound to it. So you can treat your minor chords as minor 6 chords, and here we go. This is that, there's my G flat 7, kind of spread out G flat 9 chord, ice cold, sliding those notes. Just very simple in the right hand, and then I do a roll. And I'm playing the same notes, but I'm just having fun with it. See what I'm doing? Playing the same notes we did earlier, but just rolling it. Okay, now this was fun. Okay. Now I'm basically playing this melody here, as you can see. Dun, 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 living it up in the city. Actually, it's right here, okay? You see that? So we're doing it in the key of E flat, so it's a little hard to transpose it, but you get the idea, and I'm just sliding up, okay? And throwing in this fill, okay, on the 5th. Something you can do in your arrangements. Fill, fill. And I go back to the old idea with the roll. We already played that, and then we go too hot, hot damn, right? There's our hot damn. Now we're way up here on the E flat minor 7, too hot. There's our E flat minor 6, too hot, hot damn. That's our E flat minor 6. Actually, it's an E flat minor 7 with a 6 added. You can also put the B in there. Big chord there, too hot, hot damn. There's our F7. I slide the A on that. Too hot, hot damn. Okay, basically playing the melody there, just simplifying it a little bit. Remember we talked about busy melody, simplify it. Then we do the same thing. Too hot, hot damn. Ba, 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 ba. Okay, and then girls hit your hallelujah. Here we go. Girls hit your hallelujah. And I did this fill here. Because again, we got gaps there. Girls hit your hallelujah. Okay, so that's a lot of fun to do. You can throw fills in there. Girls hit your hallelujah. Girls hit your hallelujah, right? Again, just trying to be creative, just kind of coming up with ways to fill in the gaps. Now, here's where I do change the left hand. So we're here at the pre-chorus, right? And the left hand we've been doing, you know, which is pretty cool. But we're going to change it now, and we're actually going to go back to, if you recall in the boogie section, we went. Okay, we're going to do something very similar here. Okay, check it out. Up. So now I'm walking up similar to the boogie section using E flat, or actually I'm sitting on the root. I go to our G flat, A flat major, okay, and then like a B flat 9, kind of has a sus sound to it, something like that, right? So once again, right? So we're just sort of walking up to the A flat, B flat 9, sus 4, same thing, okay? This is an A diminished, right? A diminished, setting us up for the B flat chord. Remember we did this earlier, this is that James Bond theme. Left hand's very similar to what we played earlier. Just a little bit different rhythm, but basically playing the same notes, right? And this is just a ragtime technique, more of a stride technique actually, but it's... So I'm just kind of rolling the chord, Uptown Funk, don't give it to you. Okay, so we have... And the chords here, this is like an E flat minor, right? Over B flat, and then B major, C diminished, back to B major, right? Same deal, and then we've got up, and that's like an A flat 7, up, see that? See that? And then we go to a B flat 7, right? Flat 13 up here, root, or 3rd and 7th on the bottom, and then we've got a big punch. Okay, and this is pretty simple. That's just a B flat 7 with a 7 on the bottom. Very sparse chord, but it's really effective. It has a lot of punch to it. Okay, so okay, root 7 on the bottom, and then for this final section, which is going to be down here, the chorus, I actually wanted to use a different chord progression. We already used the one earlier, which sounded great, which is basically, you know, 1, flat 3, 2, 5. Sounds really cool. And then we did the walk up. Sounds great as well. But for this section, I wanted to do something different. So let me show you what I actually played and then how I came up with it. So here's the actual section. Okay, and so what I did here is I wanted to come up with a chord progression that worked over, you know, ba-da-da-da, 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 right? And we're in the key V flat minor. That's a very repetitive progression, and it uses pretty much the notes of the E flat minor scale, right? Which is E flat natural minor, right? So I thought, well, what if I walk down the E flat minor scale in the bass, okay? And I came up with this, which is basically E flat minor, right? Then D flat in the bass with an E flat minor on the top. These are simple chords. We're going really fast, so I only use 2 notes when I'm playing really fast stride ragtime sound. Okay. Then I go to a B major there, okay? Which is again part of the E flat minor scale. Up, and then we have a B and the left B flat in the left hand. And then I go A flat major. This is the one that changes. This is not part of the E flat minor scale, but it is part of E flat Dorian scale, which is more common in jazz music. Okay, so we've got that. You know, G flat in the bottom. That's like a A flat 7 with a 7 in the bottom, and then we've got F7, and then B flat 7. There's our 2, 5, 1, which is a very common progression, okay? And so this worked very nicely, okay? Da 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 da, right? And then what I did was I tried to fill it, right? And so in the right hand, you know, you can add those little eighth notes, right? Really effective. Then I roll the A flat. I'm just rolling it down. That's just an F7. And now I go back to that little roll thing here. Okay, and this is just, you know, kind of like that, rolling this E flat minor down with the 4 down here, coming up using the E flat blues scale. And if you recall, we did this earlier on the Latin section. Remember we went, you know, remember that? From the funk section. And we're doing the same thing now, just using it in E flat. So again, you know, when you're arranging, think, you know, if you come up with something cool, you can recycle it later on in the song. And in this case, this is a good example of using a riff we used earlier, but it's in a new context, okay? So we do this. And all we're doing is we're just filling, right? We got all this gap here. And this is where we're doing this fill here. Remember, we're in the key of E flat minor, so just keep that in mind. Okay? So we've got and also that's a cool riff because the second time we play it, it's displaced, right? Right? The landing point is moved. Now we're landing there. And we're just playing the melody there. Don't believe me, just watch. Right? And then we do the same thing up the octave. Right? Okay. Now for the final section, this is sort of the end of the song where we go back to bum 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 bum, going back to that original theme. Bum 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 bum. And we're gonna have some fun with it. We want to go really big. And so what I do is I use these big E flat minor chords. And what we're doing, if you recall, remember on the D minor 7 we use this? Remember earlier in the song on the Hot Damn, too hot, hot damn, we use this D minor with the 7 on the bottom. Now we're doing it on the E flat up here, okay? So same deal. And I'm just kind of using those eighth notes, you know, bop, bop, let's see. You know, you can come up with all kinds of different rhythms, but just come up with something cool and then you can use the B flat in the middle. Kind of hitting that eighth note, ba-da, 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 adds a cool effect to it. So, let's see. I'm just playing that bass line, which we had down here. Boom, 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 boom. And we repeat it. Okay. And now for this last part, I wanted to change it again, right? Because again, you want to give the listener something new to listen to. And so now I'm going to roll the chord. And this is basically a simple kind of stride technique. See that? Okay. And the cool thing with this position is it works over all the chords. Right? And then B major. Kind of turning it into a B major 7, right? Okay. And then here you got to, you know, shift up to a new position. Okay, and then okay, same thing. And now this is the end of the tune, right? Because we went bum 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 da da bum yeah yeah 1. This is 2. Here's 3. And then 4. And that's the end of the song. So here I just go, same chords in the left hand. We change it here in the left hand, F to an A in the bass, still an F7. We're walking up to our B flat chord. Okay, and then finally at the end, bum bum bum. And I'm basically playing the same thing in the right hand, right? Bum bum bum. And then left hand I go, right, 5, 5, and then 7, 1, and then a big hit at the end. Okay? And that's just kind of like a big, you can play a big E flat minor 7 there. That's kind of a nice little inversion right there. Hey, this concludes our lesson, and if you want to learn more about funk, boogie, and ragtime, these are the styles that we use in this arrangement. You can actually learn a lot more about them at pianowithjonny.com. I have created courses on these specific styles, and I actually show you in my courses a lot more of the techniques I use. We get way more into the theory and the technique, and I give you lots of different options for different boogie bass lines, different funk lines, different soloing ideas, and I actually want to just take you here into the membership at pianowithjonny.com. This is what all of our members see when you log in. You get to, actually to download all the sheet music. All of our courses come with sheet music. You have backing tracks. We have a private Facebook group. We do live Q&As every month, live workshops. But here's the really cool part. This is where you select the style that you want to learn, and then we have put together a whole curriculum of courses that get progressively more challenging. But you can learn all about blues piano, boogie piano, which is one of the topics we talked about. Here's funk piano, where I give you lots of funk techniques, talk about harmonization and left-hand bass lines. Gospel piano, Latin jazz. Here's our ragtime. These are our ragtime roadmap is what we call them, where you learn all about ragtime. And then of course we have sheet music down here. This is a huge selection of my arrangements. This is interactive sheet music where you see the notation on your screen and you see the digital light up keyboard and you can see my hands. It makes learning really easy and really fun. So lots of really great stuff. So I highly encourage you to go to pianowithjonny.com. You're going to learn so much about each of these styles, and I've really put these courses together to help you so that you can arrange in each of these styles. So thanks for watching.